This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Choosing a bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drink that's all flavor and just 100 calories? Easy. Choosing between creamy vanilla, double chocolate, and sea salt caramel flavors? A little harder. Try the delicious new Starbucks Frappuccino light drinks. Look for them wherever you buy groceries. Start with Starbucks coffee.
There's no big lows to say, really. I mean, he's unemployed for like one day, and then luckily he meets his ex-wife, Robert Downey Jr, who gives him like money to get a van. And luckily, his life's back again. Yeah, it's all happy.
And the second half there was no tension at all. And I was like, with a few changes, this could have been actually a much more solid film. Like, I enjoyed it, but I was like, a few tweaks here and there.
Yeah, I think a bit tighter and just better female characters.
Hey everybody, our guests today on Flixwatcher are Fran.
Hello.
Babs.
Hi.
And Kobe.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about Chef.
Thank you, as always, to the mighty people for their mighty tunes, and thanks to Ben from Rocket Audio for editing this podcast and all of our episodes. Please do remember to head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating and a glowing review. Join the conversation with us at Twitter, at FlixWatcherPod, or on all the other social media platforms at Flixwatcher.
Hello film fans, welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast. Our guests today are Babs and Fran. Over to you please, Babs. Say hello to our listeners and tell them a little bit more about who you are and what you do, please.
Hello listeners, I'm Babs and I'm one of the co-hosts of the Over-Underrated Music Podcast. The way that our podcast works is that me and Fran think of a topic, such as a place like Leeds or a genre like punk, and we'll pick a band or an artist that one of us thinks might be overrated and the other one thinks is underrated, or a guest as well sometimes. We then make a 5 or 10 track playlist on showcasing why we think an artist is over or underrated, go off and listen to the selections, discuss, and then decide at the end what the conclusion is. And we do often go off on quite a lot of tangents that my co-host has to cut out.
So Helen, you've joined as well.
I did, yes.
What was your choices?
I got to talk about The National, which I seem to just be seeing live all the time. Like, I've just always seen them. But I talked about The National, and we also talked about Sharon Van Etten, who I'm going to be seeing again this year. And I'm actually going to be seeing Matt Berninger solo. So I am fully on brand for The National and Sharon Van Etten still.
So which one was The National overrated?
Yeah. And I was alone in that opinion. I can tell you that. I will spoiler this one.
I'd probably agree with you that I feel they're a bit overrated.
What?
I was so alone. No,
I think I was on the fence in the end, wasn't I, for National?
I think you were a bit more of a fan than I was, but I loved Helen. The last time you went to watch The National, I think you literally sent me like the Instagram story, and I was like, no, I like to know. It's good to know when Helen goes to watch The National now. Please message me when you go and watch Sharon Van Etten as well.
Yeah.
Helen, has the documentary been on this podcast?
It hasn't, no. You know what? I've never seen it on Netflix, so sadly not. I was thinking about that the other day, and I was like, I would like to watch that again.
I think with The National they're one of those bands that came. When did the first album come out?
Probably mid-noughties, maybe.
So they had like 4, I want to say maybe 3 albums, and then they basically became big with like Boxer or Alligator. I can never remember which one came round. So they'd done like quite a few albums before and were just kind of like chugging away. And then suddenly they just decided to write amazing songs, and they became super big, like super quick, even though they'd been around for ages and ages and ages.
I think for me, at that kind of time, I was just like, I was starting to get into that stage where I needed a bit of a hook quite quickly, and they always just kind of like meandered into a song, meandered through it, and then meandered out. And I was never that like taken by anything. Whereas along came like Arctic Monkeys, and they were like big riffs straight away, got you into it. And I was like, okay, this is, in terms of guitar music, this is probably the direction I need to kind of follow in.
More jangly and less gloomy probably for you.
Yeah. more big riffy, more like hooky sing-along anthems, I think. Them and like, Hardfire, yeah. Like those guys came out. Kaiser Chiefs, who I'm less enamored with at the moment. Block Party, all those kind of like big bouncy indie acts came out at the same time. But yeah, The National and someone else were a bit in the doldrums for me.
I was going to say, if you want to, we've covered quite a few of the bands that you've mentioned on the podcast. So if you want to listen to mine and Fran's opinions on them, please go check it out. And Helen's been on and Kobe's been on, so you can check out those episodes too.
Perfect. So we're here talking about Chef, which is your choice, Fran. Could you introduce it, Fran? Why did you choose it? And then I'll give you 60 seconds for the synopsis.
So this is one of my comfort films, and this is about a high-flying chef called Cole Casper, played by John Favreau, who has kind of been going down a slump creatively. He's bored of doing the same Michelin star food for his restaurant. And then one day, a famous reviewer comes to the restaurant. He wants to give him a brand new menu, but his boss, played by Dustin Hoffman, refuses and tells him to play the classics. He then gets a terrible review that completely kills him. He then discovers Twitter, and he accidentally has a Twitter rant that destroys his career and ends up with him being made viral. He then has to recalibrate his entire career, and he ends up buying a taco van and going on a road trip with his son, who luckily is a very good social media expert. And then, does he find his artistic integrity? Does he become the person he's wanting to be for the past 10 years? Watch it and find out, or you can probably listen to us as podcast.
Very nice.
Yep, I mean, listen to this podcast. So
Was that 6 seconds?
I didn't. You just kind of went straight into the synopsis and the reason why you chose it at the same time. So we'll allow that. We'll allow that. So you've kind of laid your stake out there saying it's a comfort watch.
Definitely. I'm not a foodie, so I went to see this film knowing nothing about it. I was a Cineworld Unlimited kind of guy, but Paul no longer has a Cineworld. I'm now an Odeon refugee. So yeah, I would go to the cinema 2 or 3 times a week and see basically anything. I went to see this, didn't know what it was about apart from Chef, and end up loving it. It's got an amazing cast. I mean, it doesn't deserve the cast it has, really. You've got Scarlett Johansson, like I said, Dustin Hoffman. You've got,
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. Because obviously he had directed Iron Man maybe 6 or 7 years before. Obviously, yeah, I knew he did Elf, but I think he just had a slump in directing. I think he had done Iron Man 2 and Aliens vs. Cowboys. So he kind of wanted to, like his character in this, he's very much looking at his art again, and he needs to make something for himself rather than for his boss.
Fair play. Babs, had you seen this before?
I hadn't seen this before, and I was really delighted that Fran picked this because he knows that I'm really into food, definitely more than he is, but he's more into film. So I was like, this is a real meshing of our common interests. So I came in, like, I knew about the film. I generally heard positive things, like not overwhelming praise, but I was quite excited to come in and watch this. Yeah, food and film, definitely generally happy to. Food and dance, like, it doesn't matter how bad it is, I will watch it.
I'm trying to think of a film that has food and dance in it.
Big Night we had on here.
Oh, okay.
Not that much dancing.
There was a bit, because it was all about trying to get that Louis Vega. So it was all kind of set up to, and there's definitely good music to it and stuff. Helen, had you seen this before? Do you like food?
I love food.
I follow Helen on Instagram. I knew what the answer was going to be. Yeah.
You ought to take a picture of your food before eating it, aren't you?
I'm the kind of person who spends my Saturday morning queuing up for viral bakeries and for vegan ice cream at markets and things like that, and sourdough buns. I'm sorry, I am that person.
So you would have loved this guy on social media if it's real.
I was going to say, you would have been queuing for his truck, yeah.
Probably. Yeah. I would have been like, oh, we need to go and see this food he's slinging. But yeah, I am like Scarlett Johansson in this when he makes a pasta. Like, that is how excited I get about pasta.
Oh, so you lie down on a couch and look at someone seductively, is that?
Yeah.
That scene is hilarious.
Like, pasta is my weakness. I love films about food as well. The Taste of Things is my favourite film from
on my list
last year.
Yeah.
It's sublime. Ratatouille is my favourite Pixar film. I like films about food, and I like food as memory. I like food as storytelling, and yeah. So when you suggested it, it's one of those ones that's been kind of knocking around on our lists that we sort of send out for a bit. So I was glad that you picked it.
Had you seen it before, Helen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know when. I hadn't seen it at the cinema, but I had definitely seen it. And it's really interesting how it's aged with its use of social media and its love of the Bluebird and Vine. Remember Vine?
Yeah.
I used to love Vine.
Vine passed me by a little bit, but the YouTube algorithm knows me and it has kept suggesting like compilations of Vines, some of which are like 20 or 30 minutes. And honestly, guys, it's great. I love it.
The 1 second every day still does exist, by the way.
Yeah.
And that was good fun using that in the lockdown. Just continue like crying. Sorry, Helen, carry on.
And there's, a stack cast. I forgot all of these other people were in it. So yeah, it was kind of handy that he had all those Marvel contacts in his phone book to make it.
When I was watching this for the second time, I was like, Bobby Cannavale should definitely be in a Marvel film. So should Johnny Legg. I'm like, even if they're just like small bit players or maybe not the superheroes themselves, I'm like, those guys should 100% be in a Marvel film. Bobby Cannavale is a massive guy, so he should be a superhero, I think.
He could play some kind of like alien type character.
No doubt. Some kind of superpowered behemoth. For me, for this film, I watched it in the cinema. I can't remember exactly where, but after watching it, my wife and I went on a bit of a Cubano tear, and there was a farmer's market near where we lived near Camden that one of the stores did Cubanos. I think it's slightly different to this, but we were still like, yes, the Cubanos from Chef. So literally every Saturday for like a year, we'd go there and get those Cubanos. That's how, like, I'm not that big of a foodie, but things like that, I'm like, that's great. And for me, food, do you guys watch The Bear?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
There's lots of comparisons as well, yeah, I think.
Yeah. So for me, in The Bear, I don't care about the high-end dining side of things. I want to go to the beef. I want to go to the beef, like, dripping out your baguette side, the kind of hatch. If I was in Chicago, that's where I'd go. I wouldn't go to the side that's aspiring to a Michelin chef. So in this, I like the food truck idea more than caring about the highfalutin restaurant side of things.
I love it all. Like, I really love it all. I think being originally from Portugal, where you have such a big cafe culture, where, like, the cafes that look the shabbiest, that have, 3 TVs and images that are fading from the 80s, are often the ones with the best food, that for sure. But I love high-end dining too, yeah.
A few things for me in this film. When I press play, I was like, oh, it's nearly 2 hours long. In my head, this is like, should be 90 minutes as a story. And as funny as that scene is with Scarlett Johansson and his interactions with Sofía Vergara, I was like, really? Are we doing this?
Yeah, he does okay, doesn't he, with the ladies of life?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the way they finished in a wedding at the end as well. It's like,
oh God, that was such a bad ending.
Yeah. Just finish it where, make sure you're in a kid's life a bit more. Don't need to get remarried. But everything else was like, this is a fine film. It's a fun film. I could watch it all the time without really paying attention, maybe leading to my engagement score. I'm not sure if we've been to Cuba at this time when I'd seen this, but all the stuff in like the Cubano side, Little Cuba, and the kind of the salsa dancing and stuff like that, it's just amazing. I still need to go to New Orleans. It's one of the few places in America that I really, 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 really want to go to. But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun film.
Yeah, there's no big lows to really. I mean, he's unemployed for like one day, and then luckily he meets his ex-wife, Robert Downey Jr, who gives him like money to get a van. And luckily, his life's back again. Yeah, it's all happy. It's kind of like watching it back. It reminded me of Jay Maguire as well. Having like a meltdown and wanting to go separately and do his own thing. Yeah, like I said, I just love every person in it. It's cheesy, it's corny. It's funny watching Twitter now. It's owned by Elon Musk. I mean, I guess it's sad in a way, but that's what Twitter could do. It could break a small business, and we don't really have that anymore. So that was kind of sad. But yeah, as a person who doesn't love food, I did want to make myself a Cuban sandwich and make a crap version because me doing it.
Not just the Cuban sandwiches, but like the fried cheese sandwiches with the plastic cheese, whatever he was putting in there.
It wasn't plastic cheese. It's just a variety of nicely sliced cheese.
The food images, I mean, definitely, I did think a lot about The Bear, also because, obviously, Oliver Platt, who plays the food critic, is Uncle Jimmy in The Bear, who's the guy who bankrolls, ironically, like the Dustin Hoffman character in The Bear. I thought that was a really nice touch.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, because I was like, where do I recognise him from? And then I was like, oh, yeah, of course. And yeah, as with The Bear, I'm vegetarian and I'm watching the meat and I'm like, yum, 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 give me pigs. give me anything, Mike. I think what I really enjoyed about the food environment thing, again, having most recently watched The Bear and the short film version of Boiling Point, that I liked the fact that it showed the intensity of the kitchen environment, but it wasn't like the abusive kind of like that cliche that you're used to seeing now, which again, love the bear. But yeah, I think the food photography was definitely a highlight. And it did make me think like, okay, it made me very hungry. I went food shopping straight after watching the film. But it did make me think, and yeah, I'd love to ask you guys, what's the food in film that's made you the hungriest? Because for me, it's very obvious. It is every single plate of spaghetti bolognese that they eat in Blue is the Warmest Colour, which is the 3-hour film.
That's the thing I don't remember from that film.
Honestly, so they eat, and like food is sensuality in that film. And I watched it with a friend, and it's a 3-hour film at the cinema. And then we both separately, without even mentioning it to each other, we both went home and made pasta that evening because we were like, oh, I'm so hungry now after watching the pasta.
I tend to have a whole chocolate cake after watching Matilda.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Is it Bruce Bogtrotter?
So after watching the menu, I decided that I would, with a friend, check out some of London's best burgers.
I love the menu, and also starring Leguizamo.
Leguizamo. Johnny Leg.
Oh. Johnny Leg. That's what you were saying, yeah.
After watching Super Size Me, I've never eaten a McDonald's burger again. That's the opposite. That's the opposite of what you've said. I've had McFlurries.
I was about to say, the only, after reading Fast Food Nation, I haven't eaten McDonald's apart from a McFlurry when a friend of mine had a breakup and she's like, can you meet me at McDonald's? And I was like, I would normally say no, but she's feeling vulnerable. Let's go and join her.
For St. Patrick's Day, they had a green McFlurry.
What? I mean, you could do that yourself. Just get some food dye.
I assume it was lime flavoured.
Oh, okay.
I assume that's what's happening here.
Lime flavoured McFlurry. That sounds rancid.
Yeah.
Maybe mint.
Yeah, mint sounds a bit more normal.
Mint choc.
So yeah, Jon Favreau. He's in one of my favourite films ever, in Swingers, which he wrote but didn't direct. So I like Chef because it kind of is a hark back to that super indie film, although it's not super indie at all because, Jon Favreau and Vincent Vaughn became big from it, but then no one else did. Although you had people in there who were slightly famous at the time. It doesn't reach the heights of Swingers for me, but it's just a nice kind of hang, isn't it? Johnny Leg should just be more stuff as well.
I love him.
I don't think I've ever seen him I think he's in like To Wong Fu, Thanks for the Memories, but he's very rarely the main guy in the film.
Well, guys, sorry to bring up another film podcast, but there is an Australian podcast called Leguizamo Rama, and it's Zach Rowan. They say that John Leguizamo is one of their favourite character actors, and they're going through every single one of his films. So, including all the Ice Age films, because he's the sloth, Sid the Sloth.
Oh, he's...
I think so.
No, is he?
No, I think because the rat doesn't speak, right? I think it is Sid the Sloth. And I've listened to the first 2 Ice Age episodes, but they also do the video games. That's how much they are into him. So if you're a fan, I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I guess the first time I saw him would have been the Super Mario Brothers, sadly.
Yeah, same. And I was like, no, this film is terrible. Even as a 6-year-old, this makes...
You knew better.
That and Master of the Universe.
Moulin Rouge.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Romeo and Juliet. But Romeo and Juliet was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So he was in John Wick 1 and 2 at least. I'm really hoping he comes back for John Wick 5 because I think he's always an interesting...
He's also in ER. Yeah.
He gets around.
Johnny Leg. He's just always got a lot of energy, hasn't he? And it's good fun with Bobby Cannavale in this as well. But one thing with the side characters, I kind of felt they were like, okay, we've got 3 days with Dustin Hoffman. We've got 2 days with Scarlett Johansson. It kind of felt like that kind of portioned out in a way. I kind of felt the strength. There's definitely like half a day with Robert Downey Jr.
He could have been cut from it. Like, his character is problematic. Yeah.
I enjoyed that scene because I have so many gaps in my film knowledge, as may be clear from every single episode of this that I've guested on. I did not expect any of those people to show. I knew it was Jon Favreau, so I was like, oh, Scarlett, Robert Downey, and then I was like, how did he get them? And then I was like, okay, film history. I think if you're not expecting them to show up, it's maybe a bit more fun.
But looking at the poster, he's and Robert Downey Jr. That's why he's in the film for marketing purposes, surely.
Yeah, 100%.
We have Iron Man in it, guys. Go see it.
We've got Iron Man in it with a guy who directed Iron Man 1 and 2. Maybe, did he direct 3? Is that Shane Black?
No, he steps away, yeah.
Is there anything else guys want to say before we head to the scores?
Yeah, I think we touched on it, but I thought the women in this film were portrayed absolutely woefully, apart from Amy Sedaris' character. The male gaze on Scarlett Johansson was off the charts. The way that she looks, you think she's going to be like a bit of a sassy person, not at all. And I think at the beginning, I really enjoyed how him and Sofía Vergara, their relationship wasn't bad. It was like, again, how nice and refreshing that like they're separated but they get on. But then she just had like everything was absolutely fine with her. She was happy, even when she was a bit annoyed at him. She was just so sunny and helpful. And I was like, yeah, these have absolutely been women written by men, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think I just felt a bit disappointed with Jon Favreau in this because like, I'm sure you can do better than that. And when the scene where he's speaking to Sofía Vergara and is in the food truck and she says, "I love you." And it's like, what exactly?
Yeah.
What are we doing here, guys? Why are we doing this?
And also, someone who has worked in a food truck for many, many summers, that kid should not be near the hot plates or anything. Like, he should just be on money.
It does show him getting burnt for one tiny little scene, and that's it. As if there's some danger.
I mean, he's hardly tall enough to see over the counter. Like, the health and safety people would not pass that food truck with that kid working there. I'm sorry.
I think it was quite fun in that was the most interesting part of it, I think, was him connecting with his son. And I think that's why initially Casper Favreau's character and Sofía Vergara's character, I thought that was quite interesting because she was having a go at him for not looking after his son more and being part of his son's life. And she seemed just generally concerned. And I was like, that's a nice, happy place to kind of have that relationship, right? You know, that seems human in a way. But then for it to be like the wedding at the end, I was like, oh, God.
I really disliked the relationship with the son because for me, it just really seemed, it wasn't that his son was good at cooking. It was that his son was like, well, this is the only thing that interests my dad. So I'm going to pretend to be interested in this because it's the only time that he's happy and I can engage with him. So I didn't believe at all that he like loved cooking and loved food. I actually thought it was quite dark, to be honest. And Sofía Vergara should have bloody chastised him a bit more and not ended up with him.
Do you think that he should have gone off with the reviewer at the end, or should have snubbed him and just carried on to the food truck?
I think the love interest should be irrelevant. Like, you know, I think if it had ended with, you know, him repairing the relationship with the food critic, that would have been a perfect ending, actually. Especially because the marriage scene was also so short. I thought the pacing was a bit off in the second half because I thought the first bit up until, you know, he loses his job was very believable. And again, reading critics of this, people were like, oh, that's not what Twitter's really like. I can believe everything. I can believe that you can go viral. You know, I thought the fact that he didn't really understand how social media worked and he went viral and he didn't realize, I thought that was very credible enough and fun. But then the pacing of the second half where, like one of you said, you know, he's unemployed for a day. Like the guy he can paint it professionally and get a new sound system in a day. Like Johnny Legg can drop everything and be like, hey, just turning up in this random industrial site.
No one's told him where that truck is, by the way.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I was thinking like, well, he could have called Sofía Vergara, but still. And like, yeah, the second half, there was no tension at all. And I was like, oh, with a few changes, this could have been actually a much more solid film. Like I enjoyed it, but I was like, oh yeah, a few tweaks here and there.
Yeah, I think a bit tighter and less of the just better female characters.
Yeah.
I'm happy with all the Twitter stuff. I was happy that he knew nothing and his 10-year-old wonder kid knew it.
I thought that was hilarious, to be honest, but I thought it was a direct message. That did make me giggle.
Anything else before we head to scores?
Oh, just say, how does he not speak Spanish?
Yeah, I thought that was a bit. I thought it was a bit strange as well.
How can he have a Spanish wife, be an expert in Cuban food, have a father-in-law who apparently doesn't speak English? Yeah. That was come on.
And Johnny Legg as your
as your sous chef,
and having grown up in Miami as well.
Yeah, which is implied, right? I thought, okay, he's happy to shadow because I read that there was like a food truck guy who was his consultant and then a producer. And he shadowed him in kitchens and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, so you're happy to get the kitchen skills, but not the Spanish skills. Come on, John.
Did you think that, how much cooking or chopping do you actually think he did? Because I was paying a lot more attention and it seemed you never saw him and chopping at the same time.
Extreme close-ups.
But I saw once where it panned up and I was like, I think that's probably true that happened. But every time it was like El Jefe on his knuckles when it always panned over to someone else. You said that you saw it once happen.
Yes, because I do a similar thing when someone's playing a musical instrument where I'm like, okay, are you actually playing that piano or violin?
Or is it just your fingers?
Exactly. No, definitely. There was at least once where he was chopping in an impressive manner.
I need to look back into the creds and see if there's a hand double mentioned.
Chef's hands. Fav's hands. Okay, let's head to the scores.
I'm Sam Clements, host of the 90 Minutes or Less Film Festival, another podcast in the Stripped Media family, a podcast that celebrates movies under 90 minutes long. Each episode, I'm joined by a special guest who selects a movie to join our prestigious lineup. Past guests have included fellow Stripped Media family members Martin and Sam from Song by Song, and Kobe from Flixwatcher, and Dave from The Wire Stripped. Search for us now on the app you're currently listening to this podcast, or join us at 90minfilmfest.com.
Welcome to the Flixwatcher scores. As always, they are out of 5. You may have decimal places if you wish, and we'll start with you, please, Fran, because you picked it with your recommendability.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to say a 4 out of 5 because I think this still is an underrated film that not many people know about. And like, if you go in having no clue what it's about, you're going to leave with a smile on your face. I can't really see many people hating this film. So yeah, it's every 5 or whatever years I pop it on, have a nice cuppa, and have a lovely good time. So I hope you do too.
Babs.
I've put a 3. I would definitely recommend it, especially to foodies and people who like romantic comedies. For sure, because I think
is it romantic comedy?
Well, because I'm like, this is a bit of a romantic. That's it.
Yes, yeah.
Like, I'm very cynical, right? So I'm like, happy endings that aren't merited. I'm like, come on, guys. And this one wasn't. But I think the romantics, the idealists, would enjoy it, even if they're not into food. So yeah, 3.
Helen.
Yeah, so I think my kind of like memory had kind of blocked out certain bits of it and had just kind of been like wrapped up in how good all the food looks and being in a food truck. But yeah, it's kind of like the ultimate male fantasy about everything. But it is also, does have some sweet moments. The food does look really good and it has got a very strong supporting cast. And it is kind of like a comfort film. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. It's very enjoyable. You just have to get over quite a few of the things and just go, I'm just going to enjoy the food.
I mean, Jon Favreau, in Friends, he was a very, very successful entrepreneur and got together with Monica for a brief period. So maybe this guy's he's got it all. I'm going to give it 3.8. I think this is the second time I've seen it. First time was at the cinema, but I can't remember when exactly. And I was looking forward to watching it again. And like Helen, I've forgotten a lot of the parts of it, but again, when I press play, thinking it's going to be like a 90-minuter, my heart did sink a bit, thinking this makes no sense as a 2-hour film. So chill out, mate. Repeat viewing score, Fran. Once every 5 years, a cup of tea translates to.
Well, I'll give it a 3.5. I mean, I wouldn't watch it yearly, but I'm happy to. Again, if I'm flicking through the channels and up comes this, I will. Yeah, enjoy myself. I wouldn't go and take the Blu-ray off the shelf and pop it in, but yeah, I'm happy to randomly come across it and have a good 2 hours. But you can cut before the wedding discos. That saves you 10 minutes.
This is the Fran cut. Why did you just stop there? I just don't know. This is the cut that I bought. Babs.
I'd give this a 1, and that's just because, honestly, guys, I'm just someone who doesn't really rewatch many films. I think.
So you're already skewing our scoring system based on your habits or lack of habits.
I'm really sorry, but I think I'm one of those people where when it comes to films and I think books as well, I'm like, but there's so many more and I have limited time. So for me to rewatch, I'm thinking like my favorite films, I don't know, Scott Pilgrim is one of my favorite films. I've watched that maybe 3 times, maximum 4 times. And, I maybe have 10, 12 films in my life that I've seen more than once. So I gave it 1 because I did get something out of this. And again, if I had to pick which bits, absolutely the food bits and the banter bits and the Twitter jokes.
So how many times have you seen this?
This was my first watch.
First time? Okay. Sorry.
This was my first watch, yeah. So enjoyed it, but, don't feel the need to see it again, but that's no bad thing.
Helen.
Yeah, so this is my second time watching it. And again, I was like, why is this film nearly 2 hours? Like, it doesn't need to be. But it's super easy watch. And also, there's a bit in it where Percy, the kid, is like watching stuff on his iPad. And like, he's watching like this, I don't know what it is, but there's a bit where it's like a kitten firing a machine gun.
Yeah.
Unexplained.
Like, yeah. And I was just like, if I'd not rewatched it, I would have missed this golden moment. So yeah, I think it's an easy one to rewatch. And like, if someone hadn't seen it and they were like, do you want to watch it? I'd be like, yeah, sure, it's pretty easy. So I'm going to give it 3.5. It's a super easy watch.
Yeah.
But you probably won't pay that much attention to it, apart from like the food bits.
The Scarlett Johansson bit when he's cooking for her was just like, I'm sure I was in tears laughing when I saw it in the cinema.
I've made food for girlfriends. No one's ever looked at me the way she looks at him.
Was it pasta though? Were you making pasta?
Shooting the salmon is the best I can do, but
I'd be surprised if that's not mocked in like Saturday Night Live and things like that. So it's things like that I was looking out for, thinking, really? Are we doing this again? I'm not sure. I'll probably watch it again, but I will be so not paying attention to it when I'm watching it again.
You'll be on Twitter maybe, Kobe.
Happily in the background. Not on Twitter. I'll be happily in the background whilst doing other stuff. This could be a good napper where it's on, and if you have a nap for a bit and you wake up again, you're like, oh, cool. We're at this bit now. I'll carry on watching. I'm not going to rewind it. I'll just carry on. I'll carry on with it. So 3 for this small screen score.
I don't think it matters where you see this film. You can watch it in the shower, on the train, on the plane, cinema, on the IMAX. I think you had the same effect where you go. So, yeah, I mean, I guess watch it on Netflix. And, this does not need to be seen on a big screen. You will get to the film wherever you see it. Just, give it a watch, guys.
So what's that score?
That would be a 3.
A 3?
What's the barrier? Is 1 means you can watch it anywhere, or...
No, 5 means it's like perfect for a small screen.
Okay, so I give it a 4 then, because
okay.
4.
Babs?
Yeah, similarly, I've given it a 4.5 because I thought the only thing that would benefit from watching on a big screen is big food. We didn't really touch on the soundtrack, which I guess was kind of interesting because, New Orleans is such a focus and there's so much kind of music in that way. And like A Message to You, Rudy, like a sort of Latin version, which that threw me, obviously a kind of British song. But I think, despite the music and the food, I would agree with Fran that, it's perfectly fine to watch it on the TV.
There was that period where like there was lots of reggae versions of albums and brass versions of albums and like jazz versions of albums. And I think that I've never heard of it. I think it's Grand Fabao. But I did like the music. Well, I'll get to you. Helen, you go first and I'll come in with my music thoughts.
5. I've only ever seen this on the small screen. I think it works fine on the small screen.
Yeah, I really like the music in this. I haven't listened to it again, but my point was some of the scenes were quite cool. Like when they're in, was that when they're in New Orleans, when they're watching the blues guy singing? Was that New Orleans or
Texas?
Was that Texas?
Gary Clark Jr., yeah.
Was that Gary Clark Jr.?
Yeah. I also didn't recognise him and then I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
Nice. I was like, I need to find out who that guy is because I like his songs. So thank you very much for telling me. And there's that sexual healing version. So there was like a period then, I'm sure there's a lot more, I think it is a thing. Radio Dread was like one where there's like a dub reggae version of OK Computer, which I listened to quite a lot. I quite like these remix things happening.
Yeah.
Then we had Hasty Dixie, didn't we? The bluegrass metal covers as well. Was a similar period.
I don't know this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
One for the podcast, clearly.
So I should try and check out if there's a Spotify playlist for it all. But you had like, again, like Santana and like Al Green on there and like the proper songs as well. So fine. Don't know where I'm going with this, but I think those kind of things make it a bit more like, hey, quite good here with a good sound system. Engagement score, Fran.
Oh, did you give your small screen score, Kobe?
Oh, I get 4.5. Fran.
Engagement, I guess a 4 again. I score highly. Yeah, I mean, I can't see a reason for me to turn it off. Really, it's a really likable, watchable film. So this would definitely, I would definitely keep it on.
Babs, engagement score.
Like Fran, I gave it a 4. I went in knowing that these were the themes that I liked and I hoped it would be funny. And it was. And even, I did complain about kind of the pacing being off in the second half. But I was engaged and I was, I think, curious to see, what cities are they going to? Okay, New Orleans. Oh, Austin. Okay. So, yeah, I think maybe if it wasn't for that wedding scene, it would be a 4.5. But that
just cut it out. Just cut it out. It's fine.
I know, yeah, the Fran cut. That's what I'll watch. That's it. I'll up my repeat viewing score if Fran doesn't edit of it.
That's the easiest, because sometimes you get people on YouTube recutting films, don't they? And that's just the easiest one because you just like stop it at the end. I mean, that about face, that about turn with Oliver Platt's character, was that a bit too much?
Yeah, I think he says, "I say thank you," then move on. I don't think he sort of teams up with him. It's a bit too. Here we go.
See, I believe because I thought it kind of completed the arc of like the whole point. The reason why Oliver Platt liked him was because he was so edgy and then he was playing it too safe. And I'm like, I think maybe the fact that he's like, I'm going to invest lots of money.
Luckily, I'm a millionaire as well now, guys.
But maybe the fact that he was like, oh, It could have been something more like, I'm going to recommend you to my friends, or something like that. I think would have been a bit more believable. But yeah, that didn't bother me too much.
Okay. Helen, your engagement score?
Yeah, I mean, even with its complete lack of like peril or any kind of tension going on, it's still an enjoyable watch. So yeah, I'll give it a 4 as well. Join you in the 4 club.
Yeah, whack it. Sod it. Let's go for the 4. 4 all the way. And that gives us an overall score of 3.70625. Lovely. People not wanting to rewatch. No, it's just Babs. Babs with her not watching films again. So what made you... Well, I think with some people... Because you said Scott Pilgrim's one of your most rewatched films. Because there are some films... The first time I watched Scott Pilgrim, and we have got an episode on that. The first time I watched it, I left the cinema thinking, what the hell was that? And then randomly I watched it again, I was like, oh, that's fucking genius. So sometimes that's why watching films again is recommended in some cases.
I think so. My memory for film, I would say, is about 2 years. As in, if I watch a film, I remember it for 2 years, unless I really love it or I really hate it. And then it kind of stays in my mind. And I think with Scott Pilgrim, well, firstly, I think I remember going to watch it at the cinema and that music opening scene, I was just like,
we are sex bomb.
Whoa,
yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, boom, boom. And I was like, whoa. And I remember I was in a long distance relationship at the time. So I'd watched it without my ex-boyfriend. And then he came to visit me when I was living in London. And I think it was that we could go and watch Inception or Scott Pilgrim again. And I was like, if you want to watch Scott Pilgrim again, I genuinely don't mind. He's like, are you sure? Because I think he wanted to watch them both equally. I was like, no, I am so happy to go and watch it in a cinema again. And I've really honestly only had that experience half a dozen times in my life to want to watch a film at the cinema again.
Do you meet a lot of people who hate the film? Because it did divide a lot of people, I think, Scott Pilgrim.
No, but my favourite review of it was my dad. So I was like, Dad, really into this film, really want you to watch it. And his review was, well, it seems very reflective of the people of your generation.
Yeah, it's not the kind of film I'd recommend to my parents, because they'd just be like, what? Kobe, what is this exactly?
Yeah, I don't think I'd show it to him now, but I was just so keen at the time.
As I get older, I prefer to not rewatch films, because the amount of times I watch a film from the 80s, I think, oh no. Like Gremlins is now for me not the same film. Goonies is now rubbish for me, and like even this, it felt.
Oh, so it's
tainted.
Not like It's not like potential homophobia, racism.
No, well, both
sexism.
that as well, but also the fact if you see these films growing up. And then you watch it as an adult, it's like, oh no, I've lost the love. I feel like a part of my soul's died. Luckily, I think only Back to the Future from the 80s has kept up. But even Indiana Jones, like in the Temple of Doom, I can't really watch these days.
Oh, Temple of Doom, okay.
Yeah. So I get.
What about Raiders?
No, obviously that Raiders and Crusader are good to go, but a lot of films that I used to love, I now I tried to stay clear of a lot of old films.
I remember when, I know this is at the side and the episode really has finished now, but my parents went to see Temple of Doom at the cinema and I was like, cool. Then Last Crusade came out and it's like, can we go and see Last Crusade, please? We're old enough. And they were like, no, because the one we saw at the cinema was far too violent. This is a point, they'd let us watch RoboCop. They'd let us watch like Predator. I'm like, what is this film that they didn't want us to watch? And then that they didn't get. And then on a rewatch like 5 years ago, watching Temple of Doom, I was like, oh yeah, it's just a bit. I can kind of get why they didn't want us to watch that, because it probably would have fucked us up in ways that RoboCop wouldn't have done, or didn't do. Anyway,
we had some reviews from our lovely listeners.
Okay, guys. So if you do want to follow us outside of this episode, we're on Instagram at Flixwatcher, and do follow us because we do post about the films we're going to record and would love to get your opinions before doing so. So look out for a post saying something similar to, we're recording Chef with Fran and Babs from Over Underrated Podcast, Music Pod, and that gives a little cheeky link to their podcast as well, so go and follow them if you've seen this. And then ask you if you've seen it and give us your thoughts and a star rating for a shout out on this here podcast. And we had a few people that did that. So Babs, do you want to...
Yeah, I'll read out one from someone who's also been on our podcast, thanks to being introduced by you, Kobe. Martin Ostwick said, it's a shame Miami didn't have any decent Cuban food before they turned up.
Fair point. I hadn't thought about it. Fran, do you want to take one?
Every time I see this movie, I seriously consider setting up a food truck, as it just makes the endeavour look so great. 5 stars, no notes.
And Helen, you want to take the last one?
Yep, so that one's from Russ Loves Movies. And this one is from an actual chef, Chef Simon Conyers. Hilarious. Jon Favreau writes, directs and stars in his own private fantasy where beautiful women fall at his feet, he tells critics to fuck off, and they come begging for his forgiveness. And he gets to spend half the budget travelling around cooking and eating. 3 tacos.
Do we know Chef Simon Conyers? Thank you very much, Chef Simon Conyers, for your kind thoughts.
And there was one more from our friends, the podcast that nobody asked for. They said, our review is word for word exactly the same as Russell's movies, so just read his one again.
Fair play. So there's 2 5-star reviews there. Yeah, Fran, Babs, tell us where we can find you online and we'll say goodbye to the listeners.
1 second, I've just noticed that there was a TV show for this as well.
Yes.
Do you know?
It is on Netflix. I haven't seen it. I'm not really interested in watching it.
Okay. Let's put a flag it, guys, for further watching. So you can find us on the social media guide. We have a Blue Sky account now, which is OU Music Pod. We're also on Instagram at Over_Underrated Music Pod, and we're no longer on Twitter. Please give us a bell or a message on. I think we're also on Gmail as well, Babs.
We are overunderatedmusicpod@gmail.com.
So if you have any topics you want us to discuss, or if you have any beefs with anything we discussed, get in touch, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes and Rockwood Audio's editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.